There's no stopping you, is there, Mr. Wright? Huh? What do you mean? You called for Jake Marshall. It seems you figured everything out. I haven't figured out anything. Lana? You're the one who knows everything. Emma. You always know everything. Why don't you just tell us? Mr. Wright is trying his hardest to protect you. I don't recall ever asking for his protection. How can you be so cold? Don't you trust us? Don't you trust me?
I hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals. Oh, I guess I am. I'll come back later.
Oh, Detective Gumshoe, what is it?
You've got a lot of nerve, pal, making a detective run around while on duty. And to top it off, you call me here. I've seen happier people at funerals.
Sorry, Detective.
You better be, pal. Hey! 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 I didn't see you there, Miss Sky!
That's okay. So, have you brought what I asked?
Oh! 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 You mean this, right?
My apologies, Detective. Due to my present circumstances, I was forced to use Mr. Wright's name when making my request. My name?
Never in a million years would I have thought it was you who asked me. Could I bother you to bring me the SL9 incident files? I'll need them by noon. Talk about crazy.
The SL9 incident? But Lana, that's... I thought Mr. Wright might need them, so I had them brought here. Here. You might do well to read them.
I can't believe you, the chief prosecutor, were a witness in a case.
Miss Sky was a witness?
That case, dude. That case. I misread a line. Ha ha ha. Take it from me. You don't want anything to do with serial murders. Oh, what? Another brought you stuff, you're just gonna ignore me?
Emma, but why? Why is your name in here? What? My name's in there? I don't know. Unless... No, it couldn't be. Lana! The SL9 incident, is that... That's the classification number the police filed it under. 2 years ago, the rest of the world knew it as the Joe Dark killings. The Joe Dark? No, Lana! That's over with! No! Emma, wait! She ran away.
You know what? I just remembered. I gotta be somewhere. Sorry, pal, but I'm out of here.
Jake Marshall, Angel Starr, Damon Gaunt, Miles Edgeworth. Not to mention Lana and Emma. Everyone involved in this case is connected to those killings 2 years ago. This can't be just a coincidence. Knowing you just might be able to figure it out. Time to get back to the trial, Mr. Wright. Best of luck. I'd better take a good look at this file.
The court will now reconvene for the trial of Miss Lana Sky.
Emma didn't come back. Allow me to call the next witness to the stand. The officer in charge of guarding the evidence room on the day of the crime. Witness, please state your name and occupation. Me, partner? Oh, I'm just a man, same as you, wandering the trails of civilization. Occasionally helping the elderly across intersections when needed.
Oh, I know, you're a patrolman!
As for my name, if you listen hard enough, you can hear the howling wind calling it out. To be exact, it's Jake Marshall, Your Honor. Howling wind? I've never heard Edgeworth described that way before. Now, Mr. Marshall, let me ask you something. You were in charge of guarding the evidence room on the day the crime took place. Is this correct? According to the papers, partner. What do you mean? A desperado's soul is as boundless as the desert sands. No paper can sum it up. Maybe it's best we just get on with this quickly. Please share with us your testimony of the day of the crime. In English. My job was to keep a wary eye on that bone orchard. They said I was supposed to make rounds 3 times a day, but that ain't my style. Besides, the room's protected by 2 security systems anyway. If I remember right, I was at a street-side saloon at the time it went down. I'm just an innocent traveling man, so if you're out of ammo, it's time I hit the trail. I can't say I particularly care for your attitude. I can't say I care for your beer, but you don't see me complaining. Wait a minute. What do you mean by 2 security systems? I mean the security cameras and the ID card reader. I reckon even the cowboy like you knows about those. Yes, well, what about the fingerprint-activated locks inside the evidence room? Fingerprint-activated locks? What kind of newfangled doohickeys are those? He's not being very helpful. He's not that good with machines. Or with following orders. Everyone's got their weaknesses now, don't they, Mr. Prosecutor? This one seems like trouble. I knew you were trouble when I walked in. I don't know. And now I'm lying on the cold hard ground. Whoa! Whoa! Trouble, trouble, trouble! Okay, Mr. Wright, it's all yours, and please stop singing. I wasn't even doing that. That's ridiculous. And creepy. What were you doing in a place like that? I was eating spaghetti. Not even Angel steak lunches can beat that Paula's Vongole sepia pasta. Do you mean to tell us you abandoned your police duties to eat some noodles? Not all desperados eat tacos, partner. That's not what I meant. I hope this has at least taught you a lesson. That's strange. This is usually where Edgeworth says, "Did you not want to raise this year?" Hang on, does he keep doing that stuff? Let's check it out. How exactly did you keep an eye on the evidence room? I just made sure nothing moved into the security camera monitor. That room's so still, even time dies in there. I was just the caretaker who interred the recordings. You interred them? Videos of nothing aren't that useful. When the time would come, I'd erase the tape. If nothing unusual is recorded, tapes ought to be erased every 6 hours. Each time I'd erase a tape, it felt like I was erasing a part of my life. This guy has a flair for the dramatic, but it isn't gonna do him any good. So, in actuality, you don't physically enter the evidence room. Blah blah blah. But you made your rounds on the day of the crime, right? Ain't you heard a word I said, partner? I told you that ain't my style. I'm afraid I don't understand. No desperado I know lets rules get in his way. No desperados I know join the police force. So Officer Marshall, on the day of the crime... Just between you and me, I didn't set foot in the evidence room that day. There was a rubber glove stuck in the victim's locker. Do you know anything about that? Sorry, partner. Can't say I do. I haven't been in that crypt in weeks. How does this guy avoid being fired? You used to be a detective, so you've used the evidence room in the past, correct? Of course, back in my day. My locker was a gold mine of evidence. And yet you didn't know about the fingerprint locking mechanism. Sorry, partner. I ain't good with machines. Couldn't even tell you how a bike works. That's quite incredible. The sensors on the locker handles cannot be seen. It's well known that some detectives are unaware of their presence. Now that he mentions it, Detective Gumshoe said something like that too. At any rate, it doesn't seem that this is relevant to the crime. Can you tell us what you were doing when the crime took place? So we're gonna keep going over this shit, but we have this to argue with, don't we? Let's press it and then see if it's the correct one. Out of ammo, Officer Marshall? That's right, partner. Or, as you call it, evidence. If you plan to pin me to this crime, then you'd better draw. Otherwise, you're just wasting my time. My steel horse is waiting to carry me back west into the sunset. I'm a cowboy. I'm steel horse I ride. I'm wanted. Dead or alive, and I'm wanted. Dead or alive. I really wanted to do that, I'm so sorry. Anyway. That should have been a fairly dramatic zoom. One thing seems clear. Despite being responsible for guarding the evidence room, the witness doesn't appear to have seen anything. Texans don't take orders from anyone. Everyone knows that. Apparently your superiors don't. Okay, I have a trump card up my sleeve, so I best keep my cool. Before I use it though, I better up the ante. I'm supposedly have a trump card. Now, that's a sexy trump card. I'm gonna save the slot again. Officer Marshall, doesn't it strike you as odd? That is, you being called in to testify like this. After all, you weren't in the security room at the time of the crime. And yet you dragged me down here. Explain yourself, partner. It's quite simple. You left a very large trail behind at the scene. Or to be exact, a handprint. Listen real good, partner. Like I said, I'm the caretaker of the crypt. I pay my respects. I just make my rounds about once a month. It's only natural my fingerprints would be in there. I only wish it were, officer. But, you see, your fingerprints were covered in blood. Witness! What's the meaning of this? Your blood-stained fingerprints were at the crime scene? The blood was wiped away. However, a luminol test clearly revealed this. Well, Officer Marshall? It seems to me there ain't a person in this room with a head on his shoulders. I take it you have an explanation then, Officer Marshall? About the blood-stained fingerprints? About the blood-stained fingerprints? That was my line. Very well, you may begin your testimony about your fingerprints. Found at the scene of the crime. It's really odd when these lines go over. I'm curious about a thing at the moment, so... I'm very curious about a thing at the moment, so I'm gonna do the risky part. Oh no, I cannot find my own channel. Apparently, if you follow my channel link directly, it doesn't exist. Hello, Turbo! That's who's here! Oh god, there's an ad. Like I said, it's only natural for my fingerprints to be in that evidence room. One of them just happened to be in the same place as the blood-stained handprint. The murderer touched the locker where my fingerprint was by chance. The blood stain and the fingerprint are completely unrelated. Or didn't you know that the murderer was wearing gloves? See, I had nothing to do with it. The witness's explanation appears valid, although there's room for doubt. Life wouldn't be very fun without any doubt, partner. Am I any good as a cowboy? Because I'm basically copying this one guy who's in Alex's D&D party. The witness may now cross-examine. The defense may cross-examine the witness instead of the other way around. That would be rather disturbing. Rather silly, in fact. This guy's hiding something. I can feel it. Now's my chance to prove it. Like I said. So then, what about the bloody handprint? Wasn't mine. It's no mystery. Please explain. My locker is covered with my fingerprints. It just so happened. The murderer touched the locker where my fingerprint was by chance. The chances of that happening are 1,000,000 to 1, just like me actually reading a line correctly. On the contrary, one could argue just the opposite. The chances of that not happening are 1,000,000 to 1. Get one thing straight, partner. You ain't gonna get no reward from me with a mere fingerprint. You wanna know why? Unrelated? They're as different as night and day. Kinda like cereal and cereal. One's got to do with breakfast while the other's a type of murder. He's right! Although seemingly alike, they're totally different. I don't see what homonyms have to do with this. You know, Abunaiko would have a nice seem to sound the same. But the difference between them is nothing but paper thin. What? What? I just find this a really strange thing to say. As far as I'm aware, he's got his bare hands, but we'd need to see the footage in colour. How do you know that?
I may be a loner, but I still do my job. I keep up on the reports.
There was a bloodstain at the scene thought to be left by the murderer. That's right. It was found on Detective Gumshoe's locker. However, no fingerprints were detected on that handprint.
Oh yeah, I think we tried that too. So that would mean the murderer, wearing gloves, happened to place his hand on top of Officer Marshall's fingerprint.
That's the only logical conclusion. I can't let him squirm out of this one. I've got to find something decisive to tie Officer Marshall to the crime. I'm gonna examine this. Because I can. AI-16 is written on the tag. That means it has nothing to do with the current case. Freddy is terrifying. Look at that, that's terrifying. By the way, if you're trying to guess what I'm doing at the right at the moment while this game is semi-paused, then you know exactly what I'm doing, you liar. You lying little shit. Lying little shit, I distrust you. Something was mentioned here. And that's because you, how do you put it, pay your respects once a month? Yeah, that's right. That and one more thing. That locker happens to be mine. What? What do you mean? I mean what I said. That's the locker I used when I was a detective. The locker I still use. All that's in there now, though, is a heap of broken dreams. I see. And it'd be strange if my prints weren't all over that locker. Apparently, his fingerprint data was never changed. He must have been using the fingerprint lock without even knowing it. Are you starting to get the picture, partner? The picture? This seal of blood. In the desert, it's just food for buzzards. There's only one reality, and that's this. The security tape. So long as my trial isn't in there, you can't say otherwise. Trial, never mind, it's a fucking court game, nobody cares.
This isn't getting us anywhere, Mr. Wright. Please consider carefully where you're going with this cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now then, continue your testimony, Officer Marshall.
What do you mean by that? You want to tie me to this crime, isn't that right, partner? If so, that video is the only direct evidence you have. But that video is next to useless. It's full of blind spots.
Blind spots?
Places you can't see. The camera's panning back and forth. The floor isn't shown. If someone was familiar with the camera's position, he could leave the room without being caught on tape. We don't have time for your speculations, Mr. Wright.
Well, Mr. Wright, if you can show us evidence in the video that indicates Officer Marshall was present, please do so now.
Very well. Allow me to point out your mistake, Officer Marshall. Tread carefully, Mr. Wright, or you might wind up being the one making the mistake.
Now then, let's have another look at the video. Show us the incriminating evidence of the witness, Officer Jake Marshall.
I prefer going through these things frame by frame, don't you? Huh? Bringing our attention back to the security camera is a mistake I'm afraid you'll soon not forget, Officer Marshall.
The days are short in Texas, and so are our tempers. Could you sum up what you have to say in 8 words or less?
Very well. You can clearly be seen in this video.
Exactly 8 words. Not bad, partner.
The key lies in a certain locker shown in the video.
This says judge. I'm not sure if this is actually the judge's line. See this locker that has a white cloth sticking out? This is the witness's locker.
Now then, let's rewind the video a bit. That was definitely a Phoenix line, but it's misattributed.
Oh, the white cloth! It's gone! What's the meaning of this, Officer Marshall?
When the crime took place, the white cloth wasn't there. Then it suddenly appeared. There's only one explanation. Officer Marshall, you were in the evidence room at the time of the crime. What's more, you opened your locker when the camera was turned away.
Order, order! It would seem that's the only...
Hold your horses. Sorry, partner, but you got the wrong man. So what if my locker was open? That doesn't mean I'm the one who opened it. The murderer needed to hide something, so he opened the locker and stuck it in. It's not my fault he happened to choose mine. Why's everyone staring at me like I'm a wanted man?
This guy isn't just playing dumb.
That's because, you know, dumb is a thing that refers to somebody who can't talk. So he can't be playing dumb at all. And, you know, dumb is kind of an offensive term for people who can't talk. And really we should get to our big list of terms that are offensive to the disabled. And the mentally ill on a later date, but he really doesn't know. I hate to rain on your parade, but you're the only person who can open that particular locker. Oh yeah, I'm calling your bluff. You say I opened that locker, now prove it. I prove it, the Blue Badger! No.
Fingerprint sensor?
We talked about this earlier today. In fact, to you. The lockers can only be opened by the detectives they belong to.
What kind of crazy talk is this?
Well, Detective Gumshoe did mention something about this.
In any case, the locks aren't that obvious. There's even some people in the force who don't know about the fingerprint locks.
I had to voice that because, you know. So, Sheriff, what do you have to say in 8 words or less?
I only got 1 word for you, partner. No!
Ow. That came from the wrong place.
Order, order, order! Witness, explain yourself!
If this is a joke, it's the worst I've ever heard. I assure you this is no joke, Officer Marshall. Now, please tell us what you were doing in the evidence room at the time of the crime.
Olay, please answer the question. Olay, what? Please answer the question.
What is he now, a bullfighter? That's alright, Officer Marshall. I believe we can figure out the rest from here.
We can?
Have a look at these floor plans. There is no place for someone to hide in the evidence room, yet Officer Meekins didn't see Officer Marshall.
If that's so, then where was the witness?
It seems Mr. Wright has an answer. That's right, the only possible conclusion.
Well then, let's hear it.
Officer Marshall was standing right here.
There, but that's where the victim, Detective Goodman, was.
Correct, unless the man wasn't Detective Goodman. I believe the victim in the video is actually Officer Marshall. It was you, dressed up like Detective Goodman. But that's preposterous! Officer Meekins witnessed the detective at the crime scene. Once he saw the man's face, he'd know for sure. May I point out, though, that Officer Meekins did not know Detective Goodman. He also testified about the man's reaction when confronted. I'm not going to repeat this one, though. That'll hurt. Something about the officer's story puzzled me. If the man had his ID card, why didn't he just show it?
Yes, he would have needed it to enter the evidence room, so he must have been carrying it.
The answer is simple. He couldn't show it. As you can see, Detective Goodman's picture is on his ID card, except it's not on the screen because I don't know.
Oh, I get it.
If he showed that, his cover would have been blown. Officer Meekins would have realized the man wasn't Detective Goodman. Do you have anything to say to this, Officer Marshall?
Ugh. You've got quite an imagination, partner. We got a term for that. It's called circumstantial evidence.
Circumstantial evidence? He's still denying it.
You're gonna have to do better than that to break through a detective. Unless you have hard evidence proving I dressed up as the victim. I can't say I particularly care for your uncooperative disposition.
I can't say I care for your beard, but you don't see me complaining.
Well, Mr. Wright, do you have any evidence? Any evidence proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that Officer Marshall dressed up as the victim?
Well, who am I kidding? I don't have anything like that.
I can see the fear in your eyes, partner. Seems you're the one who couldn't take the desert heat.
Ugh! This can't be happening. It's so obvious he's the one. What can I do? It looks like your lack of experience has finally been exposed. I'll pass on to you what someone told me when I was just starting out. When you've run into a wall with no place to go, return to the basics. The basics? For me, that would be what Mia used to tell me. Nick, try thinking outside of the box. I shouldn't look for proof that Officer Marshall was in disguise. But rather, I should look for evidence that came about because he was in disguise. Why do you think this locker was opened in the first place?
What do you mean?
There's no reason for Officer Marshall to open his locker at the time of the crime, yet he did despite the chance it might be discovered later as it has been. Which means he didn't originally plan to open the locker.
According to the defense's argument, Officer Jake Marshall dressed up as Detective Goodman at the time of the crime. Then, after the crime was committed, he opened his own locker for some unknown reason.
The fact that a white cloth is sticking out of the locker seems to indicate that he opened it in order to put the cloth inside.
So, just what exactly is this piece of cloth?
Perhaps the video is the key to all our unanswered questions. I don't have any evidence, so the video is my only shot.